Okay, everyone, good afternoon and welcome to our webinar today on returning to work. This is a how-to guidance for a secure and safe workplace. It's nice to see so many of you that have joined and so many familiar names. And I know that we all miss seeing each other in the city we love. And I hope to be seeing all of you sooner than later. With that, for those of you who do not know me, my name, and I'm trying to figure out why this is not moving forward, my apologies. There we go. My name is Lisa Demore, and I joined Corporate Essentials in 2017. I bring to you a diversified understanding of employees and work environments from a variety of industries that include tech, finance, communications, healthcare, and education. With me today as my co-host and presenter, I have with us Rich Morrow. I've been fortunate to have worked with Rich now for many, many years, previously in our security and security technology world. Rich, do you want to share with our guests a little bit about yourself today?
Sure. Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Great, great. So yeah, I started as a Red Cross volunteer as a teenager. So I've been in the business my whole life, 20 years experience in safety, security, emergency management, heavy background in healthcare. I've served various roles as an in-house director and a consultant and a contractor. And I always felt it was important while, working in different roles that I completed my education. So I'm a graduate of Rutgers University, criminal justice, and I have a master's degree in emergency management. And I've met many great people through college studies who are on major disasters throughout this country. So it's been a pleasure to work alongside these people and work with you today, Lisa.
Well, great, and thank you for joining us. So before we get started, just a few little housekeeping things here. In follow-up to the session at the end of this webinar, you will all receive information to submit to us your contact information and the best mailing address for us to ship to you a sample of what it's like to deliver custom trending break room right to the doorstep at your home. If you choose, we can obviously send it to your office as well. And in addition, you will receive a copy of today's presentation. And if needed, we're happy to share a link to the recorded presentation, as well as any of the links or the resources. Rich and I will be completely available to you, and you'll have our contact information sent to you as well. Throughout the presentation, I ask that you please put any comments, questions, or thoughts in the questions or chat feature. At the end, we have allotted time for us. So here's what's in store for us today. Today we will talk, Rich will talk about the role of employers in providing a safe and secure workplace. He will give a high-level view of some OSHA practices and regulations, and most importantly, those reference links that you can familiarize yourself with based on your specific industry. The importance of setting policies and procedures for a safe work environment. Right now it's super important. I know we all have focused so much of our careers on creating a climate of office culture and company culture in the workplace. And now more than ever, it's super important that we take these policies, practices, and procedures and figure out a way to incorporate them, assimilate them into your office environment so that you have also a culture of office safety that's happening. And we'll talk about that. We will get through go through some breakthrough technologies that are available for you for your workplace in all elements of the workplace, various PPE and ways that you can help your employees not only be more protected, but absolutely feel safer, which is a big piece of the, sort of the challenge that we all face in today's workplace environment. So with that, Rich, I'll ask you to jump right in.
Sure. So direct your attention to this slide here. My intention today is to provide you with a lot of information in the condensed amount of time that we have here. I'm not going to be able to cover all the aspects of this document today, but you're going to receive a comprehensive checklist that will highlight the aspects of how to comply with the core concepts that are bulleted here on this slide. I'm going to introduce OSHA 3990 today. I can almost guarantee as a consultant and advisor that many of you probably never heard about this resource, OSHA 3990 document, okay? But I will tell you the document is comprehensive, and it basically delineates everything a prudent organization should do during this pandemic. Businesses, government entities, whoever you are, this will ensure you do the right thing. I don't expect you to memorize the document. Again, I direct your attention to the core concepts associated with OSHA 3990 as they're bulleted on this slide. Okay, so you've been a business owner, maybe a CEO, a COO, a director, a manager for quite some time. And now we have COVID, and now maybe you're new to your new role. You're obligated to ensure the workplace is safe. So what does this mean? Do you have a comprehensive safety program? Do you have a safety officer? If yes, what is the safety officer's responsibilities? Have you, like Lisa mentioned, have you promoted a culture of safety? Who's filling the safety role in your organization? Is this facilities, human resources? Is there a need to hire someone? Do you require support from a safety expert? So these are the things that we have to start thinking about as we move forward in implementing some of these processes. So a safety officer's job is to monitor and advise. And the safety officer is the advocate who promotes the culture of safety throughout the company. Now, the person may be full-time. In the hospitals, they have full-time people. If you're a small business, if you're a medium-sized business, it may be the HR person. It may be facilities for sharing that role. It could be a full-time person who's just dedicated to safety, or maybe a part-time person, okay? But this subject matter expert is the person you have to call upon to mitigate and respond to the business needs as it relates to COVID-19. So let's say you've already identified the safety officer. Well, the next step is now to determine where your organization ranks with respect to exposure to SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. And this is based on the Occupational Risk Pyramid by OSHA. So, what is the Occupational Risk Pyramid? So, if you start from the bottom, the green area, that's low risk. These are workplaces where there's no exposure, or nobody has suspect to have an infectious disease. So what would that example be? Well, it could be a person working from home. It could be a truck driver. A medium risk. Well, these are workplaces where people come into close contact with one another. These may include people who are not known or suspect to have an infectious disease. So who are they? Well, supermarket workers, teachers, retail store workers, office workers, manufacturer workers who have personal contact with other people, okay? And restaurant servers, right? And then we move into the high risk. And this would include healthcare support, medical transport workers, mortuary workers. These are workplaces, folks, where people are known or suspected to be exposed to infectious disease. And then the very high risk is also the healthcare workers, but that would include areas where there's surgery being performed, lab personnel, and some mortuary workers. Okay, so let's get right into it. One of the core concepts here: policies and procedures. So you have a safety officer, you have a safety program, but do you have policies and procedures? Does your company conduct routine training on the policies and procedures relating to infectious disease? If so, what does that look like and who looks over it? Who handles annual required safety training? Training on policies and procedures based on your industry, and they should be worksite specific. So you can't just take somebody else's policy or somebody else's emergency plan from down the road and think it's going to work for you. Okay. It has to have relevancy and it has to be compliant to the industry you're in. And again, we provided these links for you. So on your standard operating guideline for an infectious disease outbreak, are you monitoring the latest information from the CDC and state and local health agencies? So let's face it, folks, we've been watching the news. What's happening in New Jersey may be different than what's happening in Texas. So you have to really be in tune with your local authorities on the information with respect to the outbreak. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when we get into the section about having communications plan. Again, refer to the CDC website and the local resources in your community. We've set some guidelines there, some web links for you to take a look at. Here's what a lot of companies are doing now. Some companies started in the beginning, but now I see more companies are actually having their employees, they're being required to certify their health status prior to reporting for duty. So what does this mean? All right, so again, we put a link in here, but this would be an example of questions that an employee would have to answer prior to their shift. So in other words, if they're sick, they should not report to duty, okay? They're supposed to notify their supervisor. They're supposed to stay home. A key question to ask employees is if they've traveled to a restricted state or out of the country within the last 14 days. And again, there's a resource for you right there to implement at your company to ensure that your employees, if they're sick, they're staying home. Now, we're going to talk about a sick leave policy for all employees. The policy needs to be flexible, and how you implement the policy is important. Federal law does not make a company give paid sick time. However, federal law does require employers to give unpaid sick and personal time to employees. And I recently discussed this issue with a colleague over the last couple of weeks, and this was the scenario. A security officer had to take off for 14 days because the son had to be quarantined for 14 days. Okay, the son's teacher tested positive. Now, the security officer was able to apply for unemployment, yet the employer told them they could use their paid time off, but didn't have to. So in other words, the company still continued paying for the employee. The employee did not have to collect unemployment, and they didn't have to take from their sick time. And there are a lot of companies that are doing this during this pandemic. So again, just make sure your sick policy is flexible, and definitely bring your human resources people into these conversations. Okay, communications plan, updating your communications plan. This topic can be a webinar in and of itself. I highly recommend that you go to the CDC web link that we provided, look over the components of having and updating a communication plan. I will tell you, a prudent organization will have a comprehensive communication plan that promotes health and safety. So what does this mean? Having open lines of communication and empathy that increases trust between management and line staff. This core concept is paramount, and it should be continuous. So, employees want to feel part of the bigger picture. They want to know what's going on. Communication, again, you have to communicate the policies, everything we're talking about on this webinar. The employees have to know, the sick time off that we just spoke about, and everything that we're talking about on this webinar today. Communications is key now more than ever.
Yeah, Rich, that brings up a good point. I know you and I were talking about this the other day, and I know I've talked to some of you that are actually participating in this webinar today in working with you and thinking about all the aspects that we need to consider in returning employees and as employees return to the workplace. So you can never really, some key points to hit on here is we can never communicate enough. So if you think you're over communicating, you're likely not. And to that point, if it's a matter of verbally having various department heads and leads share it with their teams, that's one way. A second way is to ensure that you're sending it via written communication. And a third way is in either weekly or bi-weekly or monthly team meetings and or company meetings together, that gets communicated. Get everybody on a Zoom call and go over what's happening. As we all know, the organizational structure in a lot of our companies has changed, unfortunately, as a result of COVID. So we cannot assume that someone else is taking the responsibility to communicate and cascade out information to any other employees. So it's best to make sure that you are over communicating and getting the word out there, because information from the right sources is what makes your employees feel more comfortable, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, Lisa. So supporting your clean and safe workspace. So the EPA has registered disinfecting and cleaning products, and we've put the link in there for you to review it. What you should be looking at are not only the EPA registered disinfecting and cleaning products that contain the recommended levels of active ingredients and agents prior to buying them. So you have the EPA registered list, and then also make sure you're looking at any products that have active ingredients, of example being 60% alcohol or higher, also referred to as ethanol or ethyl alcohol. The CDC recommends that the company disinfects the touch point surfaces frequently to minimize the exposure. Don't forget to do this for vehicles also. So if you have people in vehicles that are sharing this vehicle, that the vehicle is wiped down as well in between occupants, and ensure people are using wearing disposable gloves, use the soap and water, and then the disinfectant product. Disinfecting, this is again from the CDC, disinfecting at least 3 times or more in the day, okay? And employers can look at cleaning supplies and janitorial cleaning supply companies to acquire these products. Many of the companies are now selling them in bulk, which gives you a long-term and money savings advantage. Monitoring employee compliance. So is your company monitoring your employees' compliance with disinfecting procedures and personal hygiene procedure? I was recently conducting a risk assessment, and I walked into the one facility, and the gentleman showed me a bottle, that you would buy from, Home Depot to fill up whatever you want to fill up in it. And it just had something written on it with a magic marker. Well, I said, well, time out. What is that agent? What are you cleaning with? So I had to put that into my report, that the organization really needs to drill down and make sure they're being compliant with the procedures, and the proper solutions are being used. So what does this mean? It means conducting an inspection, just like I conducted the inspection, and that's what I found. And document these findings for compliance purposes, so no one can come back and say, well, wait a second, you didn't do X, Y, or Z. So again, make sure, it's one thing to have the program in place, but are you living up to your policies and procedures? And that's basically what we're talking about, is doing your documentation and your due diligence. We're going to move into the next topic, talking about protective measures as an added layer of safety and security in your company, organization. Are you installing these protective measures? Now, we're seeing this wherever we go, right? Restaurants, drive-throughs, these plexiglass barriers. Well, they do provide a level of protection. We're both going to get into talking about, Lisa's going to highlight it a little bit more later on, about the high efficiency air filters. Negative pressure ventilation is more for the hospitals. We're not really going to cover that today. But these protective measures, how to maintain a safe work environment. So to improve air quality and ventilation, the CDC recommends installing these high efficiency air purification. What it does is it recirculates the air to remove some of the particles of COVID-19. I will tell you, I recently spoke to a friend who's a 911 telecommunicator, dispatcher in a large city. Well, there was no plan for proper air quality and ventilation. And guess what happened, unfortunately? This resulted in the entire staff becoming infected with COVID-19, and they had to shut down their communication center and have another city handle their calls. So with respect to the air purification, I had an opportunity to take a look at the only air purifier on the market that uses exclusive combination of technologies to capture airborne pathogens, because that's what we're talking about, folks. We're talking about airborne pathogens, right, Lisa?
Yeah, that's actually what we're talking about. If you want, I'll be happy to, jump in here and move on into some of these measures in the workplace that make the office actually, the safest place. And thanks, Rich, for highlighting all the policies and procedures. And it's, yes, very important that we communicate that down to all of our employees from because together everybody makes the place work, right? That's how we get it to be efficient and our teams to be effective. But it's also really about making employees feel comfortable. There are various aspects of increasing employee comfort, and not only their comfort but their safety. And it has to do with the air we breathe, having product availability, and making the environment safe for the level of engagement that you're comfortable having within your workspace. So with that, as Rich said, I'm going to actually start out with high efficiency air purification and sanitization. We all tend to take the air we breathe for granted. We always have. We don't any longer, obviously, as we all are being, uber careful, if you will, about the air we breathe, and making sure that we're vigilant about wearing our masks. But there are products out there, and it's kind of like the buyer beware idea. You really need to understand what the differences are before you're making the choices to invest in purifying the air in your space. It's not just about purifying the air, it's about purification and sanitization. I've talked with some offices who originally had said that their companies had put in some HEPA filtration or advanced HVAC systems. And that's all well and good, but you have to realize that, if you say to an employee, well, yeah, we put a HEPA filter in the building, or we put an advanced filtration system on our HVAC system. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's up on the roof. You have to bring yourself down to the level of the employee that's sitting in that office space and thinking about that air that they breathe. And the reality of it is that you not only want your employees to be able to see safety happening and purification happening, you want it to actually be happening. And with a unit like a Beyond Guardian Air filtration unit, it does exactly that. It's a better than HEPA filtration system. It is the only technology out there that provides not only the level of HEPA filtration that you get with a HEPA filter, but it's actually 2 additional stages. So the first 3 stages are basically all of what takes place within a HEPA filtration unit. But it's the last 2 stages that differentiate and give a Beyond Guardian air filtration unit the medical grade, or as it is noted on the product and on these units as well. This is actually NASA technology. It was developed in conjunction with NASA for use in space. And so it's stage 4 and stage 5 that make this technology unique. And what happens in stage 4, it's called photocatalytic oxidation. And no, I'm not a scientist, but I know very clearly what it is, because I'm a big believer in knowing the facts and understanding why it makes it better and what the differences are. And it's pretty much like the air that you breathe outside. And the reason why, one of the reasons why, in addition to enhanced filtration and flow of air, that being outside is safer than being inside, is that sunlight actually also acts. The ultraviolet light reacts with air molecules to basically constantly, the simplest way to describe it is it's constantly then basically allowing the air that you breathe to be cleaned. And so in this 4th chamber in the Beyond Guardian air filtration unit, there's a light that's in it. It is actually an ozone-free light, which is important. I know that's a question I get asked often. But what it does is it actually creates that same reaction indoors that would normally take place outdoors by boosting the air molecules and actually cleaning them, if you will, and removing toxins such as fungi, mold, VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds. It will, of course, remove the odors and germs, but it actually has been proven. This is not like a hypothetical or maybe is the case. Actually, these units were studied here in the United States and in the development with NASA for effectiveness. And the units were studied by Kansas State University and the University of Cincinnati to ensure effectiveness. And if you click on the link from the email you'll get from me in follow up to this, those efficacy studies are all posted there as well. And then the last stage of the air filtration units is you want a unit that offers surface sanitization. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, how could an air filtration unit offer surface sanitization? So in this unit, there's what's called Active Pure technology. It's a proprietary technology that basically takes the air molecules and combines hydroxyls that create like a powerful chemical reaction or an oxidation process that happens, so that as the air molecules move through this purification and ventilation machine, as you can sort of graphically see here in the image I have on my screen, it actually allows for the molecules that then land on surfaces to actually clean and put a layer of protection, antimicrobial, antibacterial protection on those surfaces. When we talk about surfaces, I'm going to now take it one step further. We all wish, at the beginning of this, we all walked around with like our sleeves over our hands, and everywhere we went, we did have, gloves. And yes, there is still validity and there's viable reasons to wear gloves if you absolutely feel you need them. I'm going to be the first one to say, though, simple old-fashioned soap and water and washing your hands under hot water for a long enough period of time is definitely proven effective. But the reality of it is, in the office environment, we all have a lot of shared touchscreens. You have those on your copier machine. You have those often as touchpads for reserving different conference rooms, or on iPads to reserve various conference rooms. You have door handles, elevator buttons. You have the buttons on your water coolers and coffee machines, maybe on your iPads for your coffee machines, or on your bevy machine screen. There is out now a variety of products for self-cleaning surfaces. And basically it's non-toxic material. Nanoseptic is one of the brands that's out there that is, again, very reputable. Corporate Essentials, for those of you who know us, we've been around for 25 years, and we actually pride ourselves in ensuring that we are bringing not just a product to our clients, but the best in class, if you will. So we know that nanoseptic surface protectant is a viable and a best product out there. And here's what it does. It actually does the same thing. It uses light and the ingredients in the film to create an oxidation process. It's not poisonous. There's no heavy metal or chemicals, which is also very important to a lot of your offices in ensuring that you not only have a green environment, but it's also really important, I know, for maintaining your various LEED certifications for either your building and or your own office space. So the film can easily be applied. You can apply it. You can get this film and apply it. But it's a way to also, again, visibly ensure that your people see you are doing more to create this culture of comfort and this culture of safety in the office place. It's like anything else. When people see it happening, it's natural common logic to believe it. And again, all of these products have proven efficacy studies behind them, but it's definitely the next element. So after you think about the air your employees are breathing when they come back, the next thing you want to think about is how can I keep the surfaces, not only their immediate work areas or workstations, having the available products at those workstations is super important. and that's what I'm getting into next, is then how can you also protect the employees? So we have, you want to have around your office, and corporate essentials complimentary. We will absolutely help you do a virtual sort of assessment walkthrough of your workplace and provide you with recommendations for touchless and mobile sanitizing stations. We will provide you with recommendations as to where we see a need for you to put signage. Everyone will say that, oh, well, people know to do this. The reality of it is, it's just as we've all become a little bit more comfortable living in this sort of uncertain world we're in as the months and weeks have passed. It's just a constant reminder to make sure that you're doing the right things. So the signage about washing your hands, the signage about wiping down your workstation or your work area before you leave. And the most common one is sort of that staying 6 feet apart as much as possible. There's a variety of products out there in terms of gloves and masks for everyday use. Obviously, we all know now that our everyday 3-ply mask that you see here on the screen, or a fabric mask and a 3-ply mask, is definitely sufficient protection. It's only one-way protection, so that's really the biggest difference between the masks. KN95 masks and N95 masks offer 2-way protection, so it's protecting the person who's wearing the mask, and it's actually protecting the others in that environment. Whereas with a 3-ply mask, like the blue and white one you see pictured here, or with a fabric mask, that's actually protecting from water and moisture molecules coming from your mouth and contaminating someone else. You can wear eye protection, or we've seen people with face shields. If it's an environment where there's manufacturing or even closer interaction, you may have employees, if you have service techs going into a space or into customer spaces, they may feel more comfortable, and your customers may feel more comfortable. If you have them wearing gowns or hair covering caps or booties over their shoes, especially so that they're not sort of tracking in or tracking around outside germs and contaminants. So once you have your supply of all this PPE, as it's referred to, it's important that you have a designated storage area. And it's probably a good idea. Again, I had a number of years in the security space, as does Rich. And having this stuff in a storage area that can be locked and secured is my recommendation. Unfortunately, as risk and levels of risk increase, unfortunately, we see some of these products disappear in the workplace. So some of the practices I have seen, we have some companies that are giving distribution of X amount of masks per employee per week, X amount of pairs of gloves, a bottle of hand sanitizer for their desk and in their bag. And again, we're happy to help you if you need some help and guidance on what our recommendations are there. It's important to, and I know, Rich, I think you'll touch on this a little bit about having the proper fit. You want to get into that a little bit?
I just wanted to mention something on your point about the designated storage area. Like you say, unfortunately, these supplies are in demand, right? And some companies, you really got to take a look at what your people are doing, and are they going to be wanting to take these supplies home. So not only make sure the area is secured, but also, if you have the surveillance technology, I would recommend having the area under, video surveillance, because unfortunately, like, it's hard to find Lysol, and so if your company has this product, well, maybe somebody may want to just take that bottle of Lysol. So again, just make sure you have a comprehensive approach to not only the procedures, but also your products and how you're securing them.
And in terms of the application and fit of the PPE, there are actual guides. We have a link to it there. It's actually technically referred to as doning and dofing, That's the application and removal of any personal protective gear or PPE. And so it's really important that the fit is proper and that you actually also have available to your employees some various size masks and type of masks, as well as gloves. You know, the gloves aren't really good or aren't going to be effective if they either rip and tear when I put them on my hands because they're too small, or the reverse if they're falling off when I need to wear them safely in my work environment. So be cognizant of what's right for all your people. Again, be mindful of everyone. It's about making everyone feel most comfortable. So getting a little bit into the break room and some breakthrough technologies that are out there. You know, months ago, I feel like the weeks are short and the days are long, but the reality of it is that there have been a lot of developments and adaptations for everything that's in the break room. And it really comes down to this reason. Initially, the initial response in a lot of offices was to have everything like removed, like let's take the coffee out, let's not offer water, let's put up the old, traditional cubicles with dividers. Let's sort of just make sure that we have nothing for anybody to touch that they could possibly get contaminated from within the office. But the reality of that is it's just not real. And it's not real and it's not actually right for a few reasons. And the most important reason is if you think about it, in New York City and in New Jersey, and a lot of these buildings now, the elevators, right? The amount of time that we always had to wait for an elevator was extensive. Well, now with limitations on elevator capacity, you're actually increasing the amount of time to go up and down and out, and then go find, your coffee or a snack or your lunch if you didn't bring it that day because you were late getting your kid off to school. We've all been there, right? Yep. So with that in mind, actually the mindset behind all this has really significantly changed over the last several months. And it's not about removing it all from the workplace, because in reality, once your employees are within your clean, comfortable, safe environment, the name of the game is to actually keep them there as much as possible. Because keeping them within that same secure, clean space minimizes their interaction with outside employees. It reduces the number of contacts that people come interact with each day. So there are a number of new technologies and offerings out there. You see pictured here the Top Brewer, which is a barista style touchless coffee brewer. It can actually make a really cafe style beverage from a cappuccino to a latte by either just asking Siri, or your users can download the app and can brew a custom cup of coffee right from their own smartphone device. It's iOS and Android compatible. iOS meaning compatible with Apple products, and Android compatible as well. There are some other pieces of equipment, and this isn't a full list, but there are lots of pieces of equipment, such as the Total One by Confection, which also has the ability to be a touchless, with touchless user interface. And for water solutions, we all know the importance of staying hydrated. Hydration keeps us fueled throughout the day. So having various water solutions, either provided by the Top Water, the Bevy, which is flavored, sparkling, and flat, or a mix machine, which is also a variety of flavored, sparkling, flat, and energy drinks. All of these are now available for you to update your break rooms. In addition, it's probably a good idea for you to look at ways to sort of decentralize your biggest break room or pantry areas. And you can do that by just finding, looking to see where you have an outlet and putting some small brewers around your office space that are simple pour over machines that don't need a water line, more like, a Keurig machine like you have in your home, or a pour over an espresso machine. And that way you don't have everyone that needs to just go to that one central location. So it also helps to minimize traffic flow, as well as the busy times in those busy spaces within the office. And again, in terms of food and snacks, The greatest way to show your employees that you care is to provide them what they need throughout the day. It not only really saves them money, as was the original reason, or it's not even now an enhancement to their current compensation package, as it is in many companies. It's actually now the safest route that you can go in terms of, again, minimizing outside exterior contact with others, while keeping people fueled in the, fueled, hydrated, and fed in the office. Another thing a lot of companies are doing, and when it came to be in Corporate Essentials, I was asked to provide on-site attendance. We've always provided on-site attendance, but some of the responsibilities have become more customized and changed. And so it may be that in your break room, you'd rather have attendants that are either going around and with a cart and distributing snacks and food throughout the day to employees, so that people don't have to come to one centralized location, and or just standing at the entrance of a break room or in the area of the break room, so that if a person would prefer to stand back from others or stand outside of the break room, that you can easily give them a snack selection that they would like, that can easily be downloaded from like a QR code, which has the menu of options and choices for your office. So in summary, today we went through the role of employers in not only providing a safe workplace and those OSHA regulations and reference links. It's really important that you dig into those links, which you'll get in follow-up to this presentation, because those links will allow you to determine the industry-specific practices. I will tell you that I am not a risk assessment specialist, but Rich Morrow on with us today is. I can personally say that I've worked with him in Children's Hospital right here in New Jersey and some hospitals in New York, and actually around the country in my previous company together with him. And so he brings a plethora of information to you today that dig into those links. Don't hesitate to reach out to him and ask him questions specific for your environments. We talked about strategies for creating that culture of office safety. And that really begins with each of you making sure that you not only put the plans and the information together, but that you communicate it down through your teams. And then looking at the breakthrough technologies for air, surfaces, and food and snack options for safely fueling your team within the workplace, because that's what's going to create not only that culture of care and belonging and comfort that most of our employees always yearn to have, but now we have to have that culture of safety as an added element. And, be sure you have enough, and I see the questions popping up here in the Q&A, so I'll get to those real quick. So make sure that you have the PPE so that when it's really needed, you're not in a situation where it will run out. So let me just pull up the first question here, and feel free to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll continue to look at those. If our time, sure, Rich, 1 second.
While you're doing that, I wanted to just highlight something here while you're checking for the questions.
Sure.
We covered a lot of information today, but it's a lot to digest. Just remember, because of the time frame, you're going to get a free checklist about all these requirements. So if we didn't cover one aspect today, there will be that checklist for you to reference, and we're available as a resource anytime. It's all about health and safety starting at the beginning of the day, right?
So the first question I have here is, let's say we do all of these things that you are recommending. Are we as a company still liable if someone gets sick? So that is actually a very good question. For those of you, some of you may have participated in our last webinar on risk and legal ramifications of safety in the workplace. If you need a link to the recording of that, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to send it to you, as this one is recorded as well. If there's anyone else on your team you need to share with. But there's a few pieces to this answer that I want to touch on. First of all of you attended this webinar today so that you can actually prepare and have a variety of information, resources, so that you and your company can be diligent and responsible in leading your employees and your company in actually creating the safest work environment possible. Even just let's think logically, before COVID, that's always our objective, right? It's always our objective to have a safe, comfortable work environment. In terms of that, it's really not changed. It's about now not just knowing what's out there, but actually taking the next steps in telling everyone you work with and the people that work for you or with you why you actually need these types of assessments, these policies in place, and the products and services available to your employees. You know, if you think about liability, whether it's product liability or office place, you know, workplace liability, liability is liability. It's about doing what you can, taking all what legally they will call, that it's important that you can show or illustrate that you've taken all the appropriate measures to
Right.
mitigate the risks
And
for
that
your employees in an office environment.
that
And
includes
so by doing
like,
that, I'm sorry, 1 minute, Rich. By doing that, you will absolutely be able to mitigate what your risk looks like in
right.
your workplace.
And to that point, Lisa, like you say, the documentation portion is very, very important. Documenting and relating it to the OSHA 3990, that will limit your liability to that question.
I am so sorry that my screen view changed here. Okay, and so thank you, Rich. The next question I have is someone posted that upper management has told them that they should remove break room coffee, supplies, and snacks. So I did touch on that, but to reiterate in case you had to step away or if you did miss that, that was absolutely some of the initial response we heard. Corporate Essential serves thousands of customers in the New York and New Jersey area. And I will tell you that I also participate and sit on the board of committee chairs for New York IFMA, which is International Facility Management Association. And that was initially definitely the response that we heard in a lot of offices until over time, people began to realize that that's not necessarily the best response. And the reasons, again, I'll reiterate. One, keeping people in keeps them safer. That's it. It minimizes the amount of people that your employees will come into contact with on a given day. That's reason one. So in follow-up to this presentation, feel free to go back to whoever told you to get rid of all of that and tell them all the reasons why they should reconsider that thought process, of course, in a diplomatic way. And I'm happy to help you in if you've missed any of the points. The second reason is time. It saves employees a lot of time given the new restrictions on elevator capacities and the time that it takes to go in and out of a building. And then the third reason is really because it shows your employees that you care. And right now, re-energizing and as people return to the workplace allows people in your office, as you see on the logo here, to reconnect to each other within your space. And so it's kind of like how we all have had the opportunity to get to know the members of our family again. That could be a good thing or a bad thing for some, I don't really know. But in general, I will say that you kind of need that to happen in the workplace too. And by having what people need there will also give them the opportunity to engage safely and to allow them the time to reconnect within their own work environment. Let me just see if there's another question is here. Okay, so the next question that just came up is our office has a Confection Total One coffee machine. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it takes to make it touchless? Is there an app available to download? And if so, what is it called? I ran a quick search and I haven't found anything. Sure thing. So there is, so the Total One does have actually enhanced technology that will allow for the machine to be used in a touchless manner. It uses technology that's called Sophia. So Sophia is the type of technology. And if follow up to this, if you are currently not a Corporate Essentials customer, we don't care, I'm happy to help. If you send me an email in response to get you more information on this technology, the technology can easily be added to your current machine if it's the right version number. If your machine is not of the version number, that the software within the machine can be easily updated, then we can easily, or your provider can easily get you an updated or a more updated machine that has the compatible technology to allow for the Sophia technology. And then that does allow your office to use it from their smartphone devices, making that machine not have to be used from the touchscreen. The other thing I'd encourage you to do on that Total One is to have that nanoseptic film put on the surface of that touchscreen. It's a very simple film that can be easily applied, and you can actually put signage on your door saying that, or even in the break room area, that says that the surfaces are protected by nanoseptic film, which is antibacterial and antimicrobial. So that will help for guests or visitors coming to the office that are using that coffee machine to definitely not only feel more comfortable, but to for sure be more comfortable. So, reach out to us, reach out to me. You'll have my information in follow-up here so that you can email me directly. Here's Rich's information as well. I see there's another question. I'll get to that one as well. And then here's my contact information as well. The next question that came up is, I'm having trouble purchasing PPE for my office because we don't have the ability to order pallets of PPE. So that's actually a good point. There are companies that do have minimums. I can only speak for Corporate Essentials. So we do not have minimums on our purchase requirements. We can sell you by the box, by the case, or one individual thermo scanning thermometer. So if it's something that you need and have been unable to get, feel free to let us know. I will say that Corporate Essentials has prided ourselves on having not only a full line of PPE and equipment, as well as information for you for your break room and office spaces. And if we don't have it, we absolutely can be the trusted resource to direct you to who has it in stock and where you can get it from. Now, let's face it, we're not miracle workers. So when there's no Lysol anywhere, there's no Lysol anywhere. But I will tell you about the Lysol. We do have Lysol, but there are some products that just, when they're out, they're out. And it's predominantly because those sanitizing agents and that PPE has to first go to the healthcare industry for all the right reasons that we all know. So there's another question, I think, here as well. What does it take to put in that machine like you had shown with the coffee? So I think you're talking about the top brewer. So the top brewer, yeah, it's just a very sleek swan neck. That is the latest in coffee technology. It's called the Top Brewer. It's offered by Top Brewer in New York City and Corporate Essentials. And basically all of the components for that Top Brewer fit underneath in the cabinets in your pantry break rooms. And so there's three versions. There's a Top Brewer, a Top Water, and a Top Juicer, and that provides both sparkling and flat water. And so if you need more information on that, or if you want a representative to come out and do a complimentary audit, or for us to do a virtual complimentary audit with you to see what the possibilities are for your current break room space, we're happy to do that. There's no obligation. If we can be a resource to you, that's what we're here for. And that's really what we're here for today, was to provide you with that information to allow you to feel comfortable in returning your employees to a safe place to work. We all know we've all been working harder than ever. And I hope that all of you have had the opportunity to enjoy a little bit right now. It's the holiday season. And so be sure to spend that time relaxing a little bit. I know we've all been working harder than we ever had before. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone on my team. I can put you in touch with them, or to Rich Morrow. Like I said, he is a seasoned professional in risk and safety assessment. I thank you for joining us on behalf of Corporate Essentials today. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the new year and in returning to the workplace and on our next webinar. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
You too, Lisa.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.